So the aim of today's session is to demonstrate to students where to find your library resources, particularly for engineering subject areas, how to make a bit more effective use of the library search, and then we'll have a look at key library resources that will allow you to search the literature and find more relevant papers on topics for perhaps your final project or an assignment or any research you have to do around a particular topic for any of your modules. And then obviously we'd look a bit more detail at forming a search strategy to find those more effectively. We'll look at a big multidisciplinary resource called Scopus, which academics in your subject area have indicated is a useful resource to use. And we'll have a look at some more specific automotive resources that we have available in the online library collections. So I'll move between the slides and the live demo as appropriate, and we'll invite you to click along if you're on a laptop of your own. If you want to log in on another tab and have the pages open, then that's up to you. Obviously, if you can access this as a recording at a future date as well for a recap. Okay, so this page is something where you may want to go to this page on StudyNet whilst I'm talking through it. I will go and show it live in a moment if you just want to watch. So it might be worth a recap on the basics, which you may already be familiar with if you're not first year student. So you can find online library through StudyNet, and we've got a tab at the top that says online library, and it takes you to a page with the coloured books, and you get a big box that says library search. So this searches everything. This searches what is on the library shelves, physical textbooks and books to support your learning. It also searches the content of lots of online resources that we have subscribed to. So what you will see surfacing is also journal articles, conference papers, technical reports, those kind of things, as well as links out to ebooks that might be not sat on the physical shelves. Lots of libraries use something called library search. They might call it something different, other university libraries and UK, USA, around the world. And so we can search using library search wider than our collection as well. So we won't, so I can show you ways of doing effective searching on a topic, and it's a good starting point to do that. We've also got a part of the online library page where it lists subject toolkits, and we're going to focus on looking at the one that's called engineering. Okay, there's also a couple of little links underneath the library search box, A to Z of search sources and A to Z of journals. Now, if you have a citation or a journal paper from a particular journal that you want to track down, you can go straight to the A to Z and look for something like Journal of Automotive Engineering and see if we actually have that particular title somewhere, and it will guide you to the particular platform or publisher's page where we have that journal access. A to Z of search sources will become more useful when you've seen what sort of things we have available in the library collection. But if, for example, you knew that we had a subscription to something called SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers, then you could look for that in an A to Z. You wouldn't have to go to your subject pages to look for it. Okay. We've also got a yellow panel on the library, online library homepage, and that's how you access your library account. You might be familiar with this if you're second or third year students already, where you can check your library account, and it's here that we can go and ask for supply of full text PDF of a journal article that perhaps we don't have at the click of a button in our library collection as full text. We can still go away and get it for you and get it delivered electronically. And we'll return to that later in the presentation. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the live demonstration now. So, we're going to just do a very basic search just to access some results, okay? So I'm just going to put in a keyword. I'm interested in aerodynamics. So the kind of search results that you get coming up will either give you where the book is available on the shelf, so location number. It will also give you if the book is, if it's not a book, if it's a journal article, it will say quite clearly here, and then it will link you out to the full text. So in this case, rather than a book being available on the library shelves, okay, we're going to link out to this particular journal article. It was from 2021, volume 31, issue number 1. It came out in the year, and the full text is hosted online at the a place called JSTOR. Okay, and you can see that we're authenticated to University of Hertfordshire Access. Okay, and from here we'd be able to see the full article. Some of the other things you can do from this library search is if, for example, you were going to use a particular journal article. So if we go back to the one we were looking at, this one, we can actually ask it to format this in a particular referencing style using the quote, the cite option. And we can use the Harvard referencing style if that's the one you've been asked to use for your assignment. And it's formatted it for you, and you can copy and paste out from here. If you're using a particular piece of reference management software, obviously you can export into that as well. Here you can add things in your session only, but if things that you think you are going to read or you have read and you want to collect them together, you can then see that they're coming into saved items file or folder, and you can export this and in one go, and you can also format that to Harvard style. Okay, so again, you have a look at this as a Harvard style, and you can then copy, paste, or export to or email, etc. Okay. So I want to show you some basic search principles that you can use to sort of increase the relevance of your search results. So if, for example, we were looking for something a little bit more specific, so aerodynamic load. Okay, so with these results, because it's a huge collection and we're surfacing the content of lots of subscribed packages of journals, we've got 14,000 results. It's not something that we can sort of sift through fairly easily. Perhaps we want to look, rather than just for the 2 words coming up, we can actually employ double quotes. This is something that Google Scholar will do as well for you. So aerodynamic load, if we look for something a bit more specific, then we can just look for that phrase, and immediately it brings the results down a bit further for you. You can also start to filter your search results. You may want to look beyond the library collection because there are lots of libraries using this. There'll be lots of things indexed other than our collection. So we can also search for full text online if that's something useful for you now, and something like targeting scholarly peer-reviewed journal articles, for example. So we're asking for something that, rather than sort of trade press, so something a bit more quality and reviewed by a group of academics within the subject field. And then identify particular things such as a conference proceeding or journal article, and perhaps something that's published in the last year, maybe. And you can even specify that it's engineering as opposed to physics or something like that. So with each filter that you place on, you can see that it's drastically reducing the results. So it just gives you a little bit more focus. Something else you can do is you could add in multiple ideas to focus your search a bit further. So we've got aerodynamics as a thing that we've been looking for. But you can also add in motorsport. So the idea is that both keywords or both concepts have got to come up in a good set of search results, okay? So that way, it assumes and is happening in between these two letters. It assumes so it assumes you want both of these things to come up. And already, even without any filters on, we've got a much more defined set of search results. Okay, so 173. And we can go and link to the full text of a journal article. And we can look at things like books as well. Okay. So that's making more effective use of the library search interface. Perhaps you've been used to looking up a couple of keywords and an author for a textbook. So now we're looking to broaden your horizons and use whatever results come up for your topic. One thing I would like you to consider is that coming in through StudyNet Online Library is your route to authenticating to all of this full text. So, for example, if you do your authentication, you log into StudyNet and you come to the online library, you may choose to go out and use another resource like Google Scholar to do a generic search for a topic. If you're within the same browser session, it will carry the authentication with you. So if we go to Scholar now, and I'll show you what I mean. If we do something here, something like aerodynamic load and cornering. So here I'm asking for motorsport and the phrase aerodynamic load and something to do with cornering. Okay, and we're finding full text articles, and we'll link back in from Google Scholar to wherever this particular full text journal article is being hosted within what we pay for. Okay, so it will link you back in to at the point where you can find the full text online. Okay. This little pop-up has appeared, and you'll see that now and again in this session. This is something that we have that we're piloting, and we'd be really interested in your feedback. It knits all of our resources together in that wherever you start, it will pop up and it will tell you we can access the article somewhere, and we can click on that to access the article. It will potentially take you to full text where you didn't know you were going to be able to access the full text and where you hadn't started your first search. Okay, and we would be very interested to see, there's a tiny, when it pops up again, you might be able to see there's a little option on the widget to sort of feed back. It's a little browser extension that you can install. We'd be really interested if you start using it to provide the feedback through that link and let us know, because we can influence the messaging that comes up in the pop-ups and so on, and so we can improve it for students. If we turn back to our library search results. So we've talked a little bit about how you coming through the online library, it authenticates you to all of our subscription services and makes full text available where we have it. We did a little bit of searching on library search, but you don't necessarily know if you're new to the university or you're new to researching a final project, for example, what resources we do have within library search or what things you might need to search separately. So that's why we've got these subject focused pages, and we would take you to the engineering one in particular. Most of these subject pages have a very similar format. You will get a picture, so this is me, of your librarian, or we call them information managers, but effectively I'm your librarian supporting your school and your subject area. So you can contact me independently, and we will always have on the toolkit page a list of specialist, what librarians would call databases, but these are places where you can search the literature and find subject-specific information relevant for engineering. So this page gives you, for example, some pointers of good places to go to do your general search, other than starting in library search. We talked a little bit about going to Google Scholar and doing a search, but we also highlight key paid for quality resources that you can do your literature searching on. So in this case, Scopus is something we'll look at in more detail. And then further down the list, we might highlight specific ebook collections, something like O'Reilly, which is a huge platform with lots of technology ebooks on. and also some video content. Then we have specialist information resources, so things that aren't necessarily typical resources that you would search, like library search or searching the literature in Scopus. So, for example, British standards, if you needed to find one of those. eSpace is not one of our resources, but it's something that automotive staff wanted on here to flag to students in your subject area, where you can find free access to millions of patent documents. And then we've got, for example, resources that appeal to specific parts of the engineering department. So Aerospace Research Central, Construction Information Service, and then we get down to things like SAE Mobilis. So this is something which includes all sorts of technical papers on mobility, so automotive and aerospace content in this particular resource. We'll have a look at this later in the session. And things like IMechE. Now, you may have heard of the Institute of Mechanical Engineers, but you don't necessarily know that their journals are hosted by a platform called Sage Journals. So we're just pointing you to the various collections. In each case, I've indicated whether it's actually indexed in library search. So what that means is, if I were to search in library search, would I find the content of these journals coming up in those search results? And so, yes, you would, but equally, you might want to go and look at those platforms independently, because they may not all be wholly surfaced in library search. So we only have, for example, some journal coverage of SAE Journals Archive, and so we wouldn't get everything of theirs surfacing in our library search. But if you were to go and use SAE Mobilis as a separate place to go and search, then you could see all of their stuff, and then we can find things for you through our interlibrary loan service, where we can deliver things to you as a digital PDF if we don't own the full text. And we'll look at that later in this session as well. So for now, I've just guided you to a place that you can look at to see everything that we've got in the collections for engineering. I'm going to go and choose to search Scopus now. So this is another generic place. You've had a little go on library search. You might choose to use this particular database to access the literature for your subject area. It's the largest abstract and indexing database that we've got. It's got thousands of publications on there, and it's sort of a comprehensive overview of the world's research output in sort of science, technology, social sciences, arts, humanities. So in this database, you might employ some similar techniques to what we were just touching on in library search. So, for example, I would be interested to find everything in the literature to do with aerodynamic, something to do with aerodynamics, okay? So if I were to look for aerodynamic as a word, we're finding thousands of articles, okay? In each case, you would find the title of the particular journal article, the authors, the title of the resource it came from. So in this case, something called Scientific Reports from 2024. But at this stage of the game, I'm not really interested in looking at the detail, because there's just far too much to wade through. So you need to harness the power of this interface and employ a few basic search techniques to target your search a bit more effectively. So we can do something like a truncation symbol. So it's something that cuts the end off and looks for all the endings. So we can look for aerodynamic load, we can look for aerodynamics by just putting the star on the end. And you would find this information out in search tips here in help. Okay, it would let you know how to search using phrase searches and how to search using symbols that will find all the different endings for you. So if we do the search again, so this produces even more results. So at the moment, we're covering all bases. We're thinking, however it's said in the literature, I want both, I'm interested in both, so aerodynamic or aerodynamics. Then I'm thinking, well, I need to probably think about adding in another idea, because there's all sorts of aerodynamics, and it doesn't know whether we want to do something about race car, or whether we want to look at a space rocket. So we're going to say that we're also interested in race car. Okay. So now we've got 3,200 documents just having the words race and car in somewhere together. And actually, if we're being sensible, we might want to call it a race car rather than both as a thing. So we were looking for an exact phrase. What does that do to the search? Okay, so with that, we get much fewer results coming in. So we're being a bit more specific about what we want. All the time, these things are building up in a search history. Okay. So if I were, for example, to look for even something like formula student as a phrase, okay. Again, we'd found another group of documents that we may not have found by just using the other search terms. So it's about thinking about how your topic is going to be written about in the literature and using the appropriate keywords or phrases to surface that from everything that's out there. So we then think about how to combine these keywords together. So we're interested in aerodynamics, okay, or aerodynamic. And we're also interested in race car as a thing, or something to do with formula student. We could also have said motor car. We could have also said racing car. Okay, so you can think of all the alternative keywords for this thing, and you could combine them together with or. So, for example, I'm interested in formula student or race car, either of those things. And I'm going to combine using or. Okay, so what that's done is that's produced another little building block for your search. It's sitting there in the search history each time you go back. So we can use that new building block and we can say, okay, either formula student or race car or racing car or motor car or electric vehicle, whatever you're doing, okay? And you can use that building block and you say, and I'm interested in aerodynamics, okay? And so you can combine with and instead. So you can combine these new queries with and show the results. So the reason I'm spending time on this is just showing you the power of one of these big multidisciplinary literature searching resources such as Scopus. You can find things and you can surface them on library search, and you can use library search with a few key techniques to target your results. But this has got sort of power behind it in that it's searching a huge body of research literature, and you have the flexibility to build up a search using lots of keywords that are relevant to you. So rather than having thousands to look through in our first attempt of looking for everything to do with aerodynamics, we've managed to build a search and focus it, and we've got a much smaller set of 287 results that we can have a look through. With these results, you can expand any of them, okay, and you can look at a particular entry in the database. Here you can see that little pop-up coming up again, and there's that little bit of feedback. So it's saying that we can find an open access version of this. So even if this search ended up at a dead end and we couldn't get the full text from using Scopus, there's no reason why we couldn't potentially find it elsewhere using this little Lean Library pop-up browser extension. I would encourage you to always look at what options there are to download or to save as a PDF, okay, whenever you're searching for something. You also might get an abstract that you can see if it's a more relevant article to follow up and read the whole thing. And you can also see indexed keywords that give you more ideas to go back and fit in another building block to your search strategy that you may not have thought about using. Okay, so these give you some really good ideas about why the article has been chosen, and you could use alternative keywords in your search. This is important to look at. Whenever you see a DOI, this is something you can copy and paste. Okay, and it's a study digital object identifier. It's a link that goes directly to that, identifying that particular content. So where you might not get the full text straight away, you've still accessed a really big body of literature and you still want that particular result, for example. Actually interested to see if I can download. Okay, so I have actually in this case managed to download, and I would be able to read the full text, but we'll still use it as an example. We wouldn't have to go any further, we can just read that here. But if we couldn't find it, then let's get rid of all that. We can go back to our library search page. And you remember at the beginning when I showed you the first slide, we were talking about you could access your library account from here. So if you were to go into StudyNet Online Library with a DOI copied from somewhere for a particular journal article, you can go in to check your library account. And hidden in the sort of menu options here is something called interlibrary loans or interlibrary loan requests. And so what this is doing is we're creating a request saying we want this particular journal article and we want it to be delivered to our email. We have to say yes to the declaration because it gets us through the copyright regulations, and it just means that you're going to be delivered a digital copy, but you're only going to use it for your own research and private study. So that's all this is asking you to do. And now you literally can pop the DOI that you've copied and you can paste it in, and it will auto-populate the fields that we need in order to send this request off to a big network of libraries who can potentially supply the digital document to you in your email. I won't make the actual request, but that is the sort of whole loop. Either you find the online link from your search results anyway, you might be able to go straight to the full text online. You pick a resource from the online library engineering toolkit page, and you can search those resources separately. And they are good companion searches to library search. You can find it on the specialist database list. And the results of those searches could bring full text content where it's available. And quite a lot of the resources are wholly full text on this list. And where it doesn't, you can always, from the search results, this is back in Scopus, pick up something like the DOI and make a request for that to be delivered as full text to your email. So you can see the whole journey through our resources there. So if I go back to the engineering list, we've had a look at a generic big resource that you can surface lots of literature in. I'm going to go to the other end of the scale. I'm going to look at the SAE as a resource that's particularly relevant to automotive students. Okay, so we can see from the description, it includes technical papers from 1999 to the present. It's also got standards, and we have an opportunity to get things from interlibrary loan if we don't have everything that they supply on their interface, but it's about being able to surface that. So here we have been authenticated because we were in a StudyNet login session. So we've got the University of Hertfordshire up here, and we're accessing their platform. So from home page on the left here, I'm just going to orientate you around what sort of information is on here. There's quick links for user guides and search tips. Okay, so you can find, you can browse by different subject areas, so you can look at topics, or you can look at particular events that are happening within the sector. Okay, so you can also create a personalised experience. That's different from the fact that we've provided authenticated access to full text. They're also encouraging you to log in and create your own account so that you can save searches and you can manage searches that can then be sent as alerts. Okay, so you can create a personal login which is free and just gives you additional features if you want to do that. Okay, so there's also how-to videos on this website, and you can find those, I think, from further down the page, and they will provide you with some in-depth further than what I'm able to cover in the session today. So if we just have a look at a basic search, then let's just do something here. So it's asking us to enter keywords, something that we're familiar with the other examples we've been looking at today. But it's saying that it's going to look in the metadata or in the full text. Now, you could change that to something like abstract. In this case, it would be looking at the big sort of paragraph or abstract that comes up at the beginning of a journal article or a technical report that gives you an indication of what is in that report or journal article. So it's a good starting point. It's not the word coming up absolutely anywhere out of context, but it's something that the article's about. So you would hope it would come up in the abstract. Depending on how many results you get, you could change that. You could just say, well, actually, I'm interested in it coming up in the full text. I just want to see wherever it gets mentioned. So here, for example, we could put in spoiler, spell it right. Aerodynamics, just as a random search. Okay, so we've got sort of 1,000 or so papers in this subject area. So you could have a look at, notice they've got like a search history, similar to what we were looking at in Scopus. And we'll have searches building up here that perhaps you can save or create as an alert. Okay, so if we go back, have a look at some of these filters and apply them if you think they would be useful. So, for example, you could select the sector. So in this case, we're interested in automotive and not necessarily aerospace. We could also look at the topics. Potentially, you could be interested in wind tunnel testing, and you could just apply that to your search. Okay, so have a good look through at some of the topics because they will be a lot more focused because this is a specific resource for automotive mobility. Okay, you can apply any of those filters at this stage, and it will almost, by more than half the results in that case. So this first one, for example, might be one of those things that says it's not accessible, it's a journal article, but it's not the end of the road because here immediately we can just check if we can download. The pop-up will indicate that you need to order this. It can't find it anywhere else as full text. But we now know about it. We've surfaced it. It wouldn't necessarily have been in library search, very obviously. And we've got the DOI that we can copy and paste into that interlibrary loan service and get the article anyway. Okay. So just come back to the search results. So if we go down the list, aerodynamic study of different spoiler section design, that one sounds quite relevant. This one, notice it's not locked, so we do have some content in here. It's a technical paper, which is something we subscribe to, so you will get access to all the technical papers on here. If we look at that, rather than asking us to purchase, it gives us an option to download. Okay, so we can download that particular technical paper and download it onto our own laptop device. Okay, just give it a moment to do that. Depending on how patient I am, I may give it a chance to complete or I may not. I think because I'm sharing, it's taking a lot longer. So I'm going to cut my losses and close this one. If I go back to the different search results, we can see, for example, this one here, it's a journal article. And again, it's not locked like the first example. So this one shows that we do have some journal content in here rather than just the technical papers. And here we've got the option to download that particular one. You can see that I've managed successfully to download other things here just to show that it does work, even if it's taking its time today. Okay. So just giving you an indication of the sort of type of content that you can get in some of the quality resources we subscribe to for particular engineering students and focusing on automotive. Okay. So if I return to the set of slides that we had right at the beginning, just wanted to let you have a look at just one or two things at the end, just as a reminder. So we talked about searching and building up a keyword search. If you want to return to looking in a bit more detail at how to go about searching the literature using some of the techniques I used today in Scopus, then we've got Library Skill Up. It's our module that we make available by linking to it from the online library page of StudyNet. You will immediately be able to access a whole unit on searching, and there's information on referencing your work as well in a particular referencing style such as Harvard. And so I would encourage you to go to the homepage for that module and join the module, because it can then sit there alongside the modules that you're studying. It's got nothing to do with your course or your program. You don't have to complete the module. There's no assignment. It's merely a way to dip in and out and provide the supporting information that you need for answering all the library accessing resources, searching on a topic type questions that you would have, and it's there and you don't have to then go looking for it. Equally, it is easy just to link to it from the library homepage if you want to do it at a point of need in the future when you do your own searching. Okay, so we mentioned this library extension to the browser that you can install. It's just a little app and you can go and look for that. There's information on Library Skill Up that will help you load that on, and it's in the Get Started section of Library Skill Up. So if I just show you now, just to show you what you can do. So this is the home page with the logo on. You can choose to go to a particular unit, or you can see them all listed here on the left. And we also promote Get Started on the front page as well. So in the Get Started unit, it covers all sorts of stuff that's relevant to today's session as well. But we also have a page in that unit. If I show you all the sub pages, let's go to the unit. Okay, so how to find the online library, things that we've covered today about library search, and here's the page on Lean Library. Okay. Okay, so Lean Library would be something useful for you to install on your browser, as again, it will just give you those little pop-ups and it will knit together all of our resources for you, no matter where you start searching. You may find a resource in a particular journal article in Google Scholar, and it will then pop you into our subscribed content. So it's another thing to have as a thing to use to find our resources effectively. Okay, so final page of the presentation then, just to remind you, I've pushed the Library Skill Up module, and I'm really encouraging you to get to grips with where that is and adding it to your Canvas dashboard. You can drop in and speak to any of the library team. We man a desk here in the Study Success Hub on the ground floor of the Learning Resource Centre, and we're there Tuesdays to Thursdays, 1 till 3. And so you can ask us any questions you have around sort of finding a particular journal article that you need to read for a topic, finding a textbook that you've been asked to read on your reading list, or just wanting to know how to search more effectively, where to find the toolkit page if you can't remember that for engineering. And also we can help you with sort of referencing style guidelines and point you to some resources that support you with your referencing. Again, you can contact me individually if you want to as your subject librarian, and I can meet over Teams if you've got a particular project, final project that you're trying to do a topic search for, and we can have a look at that together.